All right, good evening and welcome to this week's live stream on traveling on everyday spend. Excited to have this going on for this week. A lot of things to cover, from some new credit card offers, some new transfer bonuses, some interesting news, and look forward to being able to share that with you all today. Want to obviously first thank each and every person that, whether you're watching the live stream or watching the recording, I make sure I put chapters on the recording whenever it's done. I normally try to get it done within the first half hour of after the live stream's done. Thank you all for liking, sharing, subscribing to the videos, both long form and short form. I can't thank you all enough, and I really appreciate that. And of course, if you all find any of this content beneficial, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Means a lot to me, and can't thank you all enough. But want to make sure to get started and be respectful of you and your time. And want to say howdy to Matt. Matt, as I've talked about before, does some great content in regards to the news as it goes along during the week. Definitely check him out. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So as far as our agenda, we're going to obviously touch on the credit card intro bonus offers. We'll talk about some transfer bonuses. We have a couple of new ones. We're going to talk about the official date now that we have for Bilt, for American Airlines leaving Bilt. We're going to talk about Virgin Reds having their first U.S. credit card coming out, hopefully by the end of the year. A Flying Blue miles purchase promo that may be worth it for some people. We're going to talk about some United miles on IHG stays as a promo that's going on. We're going to touch on the whole U.S. government crackdown on junk fees. We talked about that on a previous live stream. Have some additional information to be able to touch on. I found a couple of, that was an interesting article, as well as one on if everyone actually has Marriott Bonvoy elite status. And so we're going to touch on that, talk about promo and points purchases related to Wyndham, talk about Finnair going from their plus points currency to Finnair plus Avios. That is an interesting situation, as well as, of course, LifeMiles, their subscriptions, and the credit cards that have come out. And I want to make sure to say a hey to John. Appreciate you stopping in. John's got a great channel as well. Definitely check him out. I've had the links before, and I'll make sure I have them in again. Very good content. A lot of different things for you to be able to catch on to him. So let's go ahead and start with the credit card intro bonus offers. Still really nothing new as far as American Express and Capital One. Chase, we still really see the same things with the Sapphire Reserve and the Sapphire Preferred on their limited time offers for 75,000 points. In the Chase Freedom Flex, as I mentioned before in a previous live stream, you still may be able to see some different options than the typical $200 bonus in the incognito or private mode of your browser. So make sure to take a look at that if you're interested. And then, of course, we have the City Strata Premier that we've got out at 75,000 points for $4,000 in the first 3 months, which we are commonly seeing with the $95 area. And then, of course, the City Custom Cash with their special travel offer that I've mentioned before. Additional bonus for the City Travel Portal through June 30th of 2025. I want to say thanks for Chris V stopping in. Appreciate it. Hello to you too. So not a whole lot with the intro bonus offers, but just always want to make sure that we touch on those to make sure we don't miss anything. Now, as far as the May transfer bonuses, we do have a few new things. Now, American Express is the same. The Virgin Atlantic Flight Club for 30% for May 31st of 2024. Aero Mexico, 20% May 31st of 2024. As I've mentioned before, I'm not a person that does a lot of speculative points transfers. In the Virgin Atlantic, 30% is not groundbreaking. Aero Mexico is really, from what I've been able to see, I've never flown on them or used their points, but really kind of specific spots that you may potentially find something for them. but at 20%, not a whole big deal either. Marriott Bonvoy at 40%. I've discussed the Bonvoy program in depth on the March 7th live stream. And as far as for that, really more of topping off points, at least as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, we see another 30% for the Atlantic Flying Club for 30% through June 15th. We've touched on Qatar's Privilege Club Avios for 30%. And the main thing for that is that one is directly from Qatar Airlines, not through the credit card. So you'll see it being done a little bit differently as far as that it won't probably go into your account until June 15th is what they've been saying. So if you're going to do that, just make sure to be aware that you won't see anything instantaneous. And now we have Turkish Miles and Smiles at a 50% transfer offer. This is directly through Turkish as well. I don't have any information at the moment of when those are supposed to come out specifically. I will make sure to update in the pinned comment if I do see something with that. I believe there is, but I'm not totally sure. But Turkish Miles and Smiles obviously has a lot of different benefits, whether it's obviously going to Istanbul, transcontinental flights of United from JFK or Newark to LAX, or I think San Francisco as well. You can get those for a very good points. 15,000 points each way is pretty common to be able to find for it. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to find, but that is the point value, and that is the best transcontinental redemption that I've seen. So you have that. It would be in Polaris business class. So you're talking about 30,000 miles. Turkish Miles and Smiles round trip is a good place, as well as the continental U.S. to Hawaii, because Turkish considers all of that one region. So you don't get any big jumps, even though you're going 3,000 miles off of the West Coast to get to Hawaii. So I'll make sure to have a link for that after the show to have theirs to give you easy access. But that may be something, if you're interested, to be able to look at. And as far as topic 3, just a short touch on as far as American Airlines. We obviously knew that the relationship with Bilt Rewards was going to be ending in June. Well, we now have a date that it's going to be June 24th is the last day for Bilt having American Airlines. Obviously, just as far as some quick thoughts, if you have or had any thoughts of being able to transfer some of your Bilt points to American, do not wait till the end. Go ahead, make a conscious decision, an educated decision if it works out for you, and go ahead and get those points transferred before that date, just so that you don't run into any problems. Obviously, we will be once again without a transferable currency that transfers to American. Obviously, there's speculation that maybe Citi will finally be able to secure another agreement with them, but we don't know. And obviously, without that, it just makes it more difficult unless you're doing the American Airlines credit card to get those points. So just keep that in mind if that was of any interest. And so, as I mentioned, as far as what's next, I mean, what do you all think? Do you think we're going to see a new relationship with American with somebody, or are we going to go back to the fact of not having any direct currencies, transferable currencies with that? So make sure to let me know in the comment section of what your thoughts are. But that's what we have for that. And I do want to mention, I don't have a slide for it, but Southwest now is finally on Google Flights to be able to see their numbers and be able to do comparisons. And it will if you want to purchase, it'll transfer you to the Southwest site. Obviously, Southwest has kind of been their own little drummer of how they wanted to do things, and you can never find any numbers unless you went directly on the website. But that is now changed. So that is just a nice convenience for people when you want to be able to compare different pricing. So definitely want to make sure that you're aware of that. And I see that, Matt. Yeah, you make a good point as far as Wells Fargo potentially picking them up, obviously with Wells Fargo running Bilt to begin with, and maybe they can work something out. And I hope so as far as the card agreements. Barclays would be interesting, a surprising one to me if they do it. Citi, definitely I would believe in that. But hopefully they will consider doing that with Barclays as well. As many options as possible. But yeah, the Citi is Citi, and they do Citi things. So true. So that's why I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of Bilt rewards, of what was going on with that. As far as the next topic, Virgin Red announced that they're going to have the first U.S. credit card, and it's going to be through Synchrony as a MasterCard World Elite. The hope is by the end of the year that they would have that up for applying. As you may or may not know, Virgin Red is just another version of the membership program as Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. You can link the two together and transfer the points in between Red as well as Flying Club. So there's no issues in regards to that. We've obviously had a run on airline credit cards as of late. Qatar, we're going to be talking about Avianca. In this one, obviously, you're going to be able to use those points, whether it be for Virgin Atlantic, for Virgin for the flying, or you're going to be able to do it for the Virgin hotels, or even for the cruises, which hopefully that will look pretty good. And hopefully we can see a higher tier out of that credit card. If you're not familiar with Virgin, you basically have three levels: red, silver, and gold. Maybe we can luck up and at least get a silver status with that card, especially being with the World Elite. So maybe it might have a few dollars for the annual fee, but hopefully we can get a benefit of that by getting some status. So we'll have to see how that works out. Yeah, Synchrony is an odd duck, although I wasn't really familiar with cardless even as much as I am now. And so they seemed a bit odd to come into things with theirs, especially with Qatar. I just assumed if they were going to do something like that, it would be through Chase with all the other Avios cards. But obviously there must be some great deals that are getting put out there by these companies to take it away from the major brands. But keep an eye on that. Virgin Red may be interesting enough when it comes out, but we'll keep an eye on it and listen for what new information we get. Now, the Flying Blue Miles, they have a purchase promo. They have the promo, and it's a 70% bonus. Now, that is enough to kind of perk my eyes up a little bit for this. It's through June 10th of 2024, and especially because of the fact that all you need to do is to look to buy at least 2,000 miles, and you'll automatically trigger the 70% bonus. A lot of times you may see that you have to reach things in different levels, but this is, if you're interested, this is a pretty good deal potentially. Non-elite members can purchase up to 100,000 points, and if they were to max out, if you were to max out as a non-elite, you talk about $3,050 for 170,000 points, including the bonus. And if you're an elite member, there is an unlimited amount of miles you can purchase. The normal purchase price through them is normally 3 cents per point, which is obviously not good. With the bonus, it brings it down to 1.79 cents per point. And as far as the points guy, he values these points at 1.2. But like I mentioned, as far as thoughts, buying points always can work out if you need to top off the points, or if you have something that you have a specific goal for that you know you're going to make that purchase. Not speculative. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how well it does, mainly because Flying Blue is tied to is all of the transfer currencies. And so a lot of times when you're trying to buy points, you either are not really diversified on your points through the different transfer currencies, or you're stuck with only one that provides it. So definitely something to take a look at if it meets something that you know you're going to pull the trigger on soon. But I wanted to bring that to you. I'll have a link for that in the comments section once the show is over. The next item is 3x United miles for IHG stays. Now, this is a promo for them where a lot of times with the hotel programs, if you have the option to transfer to an airline, the points normally don't really match up for you to even consider it. Well, in this case, depending upon what you're looking at with United, it may be in this particular case. So if you book an IHG stay by June 30th of 2024, and you got to make sure that you change your earnings preference to miles, and you must complete the stay by August the 31st of 2024, you can get a maximum of 15,000 points during the promotion. Normally, you would get 2x United miles for most of the IHG properties and 1x for Candlewood and the Staybridge Suites. So this would now bring that United miles from 2x to 6x, and if it was the Candlewood and Staybridge, to 3x. You do have to allow up to 6 weeks to get those points after the completion of your travel. So once again, always great to have options. This could represent a nice top off for you if you value United miles more at this time. So just want to make you aware of that. I'll have a link for that as well after the show. So hopefully to provide you easy access. And then we have the U.S. government crackdown on junk fees, which we've talked about before. But there was a interview that I read from the points guy with the White House Council of Economic Advisors Chair Jared Bernstein. And they talked about the whole price transparency, which they referred to as drip pricing. Basically, where you're obviously seeing the initial price of a ticket, let's say, or a stay. And by the time that you get to the end, you slowly but surely are getting different fees added on to it. They have completed a rule change that would require that information to be made very clear up front. But what we're seeing is that of the Department of Transportation, who recently finalized that, they are now being sued by the airlines. The only one that's of the major airlines that's not a part of the lawsuit is Southwest. So we'll see what happens with that, but that rule did go through, and interesting that they are fighting on that particular item. They're talking about credit card late fees, that a rule is going to be finalized to be able to cut the late fees, which we've heard about before. And then, of course, the resort fees were talked about when I had the previous live stream. And so what they're kind of hanging their hat on is that Hilton, Hyatt, and Marriott now display their resort fees as part of in the booking window, but they don't do it. They only seem to do it for the hotels in the United States. As far as thoughts, I think it'll be interesting to see what actions, gyrations that the White House and the industry has. But I would definitely temper your expectations, as I've talked about before, especially when we're talking about the credit card late fees. Even if they cap that number, these businesses are for-profit companies. They can move and shift expenses that you might have to take on to make up the difference. They're not going to lose money. We talked about this when it was talking about with the airlines of certain fees that they were doing, and then you just saw them inch up the baggage fees. And it went across the board, which probably would make up most of the losses that they were talking about when they were talking about the seat assignment fees. So just don't expect some revolutionary change as far as the bottom line, even if something gets through. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware of that. There are some things afoot, but don't rely on them to make a huge difference by any means. And then this article I had saw for the Marriott Bonvoy Elite status, which I found very interesting, and it was in 1 Mile at a Time's blog. They talked about the growing number of Bonvoy properties that post the number of Marriott Elite members checking in that day. Now, I'm not a person that normally stays at Marriott a lot, although I am going to be staying at a Marriott for the next 4 days when I go see my son. So I'll be looking forward to see if they do that at their location. But Loyalty Lobby reported in the 1 Mile at a Time on Saturday, May 18th, the Marriott in Lake Biwa, Japan, reported the following: that they had 8 Bonvoy Ambassador members checking in, 22 Bonvoy Titanium members, 105 Bonvoy Platinum members, and then 80 Bonvoy Gold members checking in. That's a lot of numbers. You're talking about essentially 215, I believe, something around that. So you must be thinking this must be a very large hotel. Well, that hotel actually only has 265 rooms. So 81% of the total occupancy was gold, elite, or up. And even the platinum and up represented 51%. So it talked about how India and Asia are seeing a lot of increase in these elite members, whereas maybe there was a time, and I know that as far as Hilton, where I stay a lot at, was that you might get a lot of people with Hilton status here, especially with the American Express Aspire card giving you diamond status, but going abroad, you don't have as many diamond status people because they don't have access to the American credit card. So very interesting as far as that, but it's not surprising. When you look at the Amex Platinum gives you gold elite status, you got the Bonvoy Brilliant that gives you platinum status, and then of course you get different people that are at lifetime statuses. So that part's not surprising. As far as the negative, you might have more difficult access to get bumps in rooms with the combination of elite status people, as well as hotels trying to narrow the amount of award space they actually have. But the positive for the greater good is that more people are having access to elite status, which makes the travel benefits like breakfast and late checkout more available to the masses. So I thought it was interesting as far as how high that number was. Something to kind of keep in mind. And I see Call Me Lonnie has come in. Good afternoon to you, sir. Appreciate you stopping through. Always good to see you. So I just wanted to pass on that news regarding the Marriott Bonvoy program. Let's see. Wyndham rewards promo and points purchase. So a couple of different things that we saw for this. Let's get this on here. And I see Lonnie talking about, yeah, can we? Yes, it would be nice. We've been trying to knock on the door to 300 subs right now, right at 296, I think. So if you're feeling like there's some good information that I'm providing, please consider it. And thanks for calling it out, Lottie. So as far as the Wyndham Rewards program, let's start with the promo first. Stay 2 consecutive nights, you get 7,500 bonus points. Stay 3 consecutive nights, it gets 12,500 bonus points. And if you stay 4 or more consecutive nights, you're getting 15,000 points. Now, if you do have any of the Wyndham Rewards credit cards, you'll also get an additional 5,000 bonus points if you're obviously a card holder. Now, the total cap of 15,000 is for non-card holders, with 20,000 being for a card holder. So obviously that 15,000 points, if you just stay 1 4-night consecutive for 15,000 points, you've reached your cap. So that's the only unfortunate thing. But because of how Wyndham's point structure is, there is a lot of things you may be able to do with it. One, you need to make sure you register for the offer for it to count. And you must book the qualified stay between May 20th through August 31st, and your stay must be completed by September 3rd. And you must book, through Wyndham, whether it's online, through the reservation number, or actually on site. No third-party sites will be able to get you that promo, and it's not valid if you're in China, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, or Mongolia. So want to make sure we're thorough as far as where you may not be able to use it. So keep that in mind. And I was about to say, Sendo, thanks for stopping through. Appreciate it. So let's look at the Wyndham Rewards point purchase. Right now you can purchase Wyndham points at a 25% discount, which would bring you to 0.997 cents per point. Normally you can purchase them at 1.3 cents per point. The points guy values the Wyndham points at 1.1. So the discount applies to purchases of 3,000 points up to the 100,000 points cap, to keep that in mind. Now, Wyndham has some good redemptions, and I've not used Vacasa myself. I actually read about Vacasa really more with Frequent Miler, as far as being able to get basically a location at 15,000 points per bedroom, which I did look up, and those are some pretty good options depending upon the location. So something that even that 15,000 point cap that we saw in the promo could be able to do something that could benefit you. And then, of course, when you're just talking about the Wyndham Resorts Rewards hotels, you're at 7,500 a night for the, let's say, basic hotel, 15,000, and then 30,000. And you could stay at a Wyndham Vacation Club at 7,500 points a night for a one-bedroom condo. So a lot of things you can do with those points without having a whole bunch of them. I will make sure to put links for both the points offer as well as for the promo redemption in the comment section after the show. And resort fees are always waived when there are award bookings with Wyndham, which obviously helps a great deal. So if you have any interest in Wyndham, there may be a couple of options for you. So let's look at Finnair plus points, which is now Finnair plus Avios. Finnair has adopted the Avios as their loyalty currency now. Starting on May 22nd, yesterday, you can transfer the Avios between British Airways and Finnair Plus. So while Avios are through Qatar, Aer Lingus, Iberia, as well as British Airways, you can only use British Airways to get points transferred to Finnair. So keep that in mind for that. As far as you can link the accounts together through your Finnair Plus account. And they, as far as within the United States, Finnair operates from JFK and LAX to Helsinki, Finland, as well as some destinations in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Because obviously you have to convert the points that Finnair Plus had under their plus point system, it goes to a 3-to-2 ratio. So if you had 120,000 Finnair Plus points, you now have 80,000 Avios. They also have an award seat guarantee, which I don't know how many airlines do have it. So if it is a short haul, they will have 4 economy seats and 2 business seats per flight. And if it's a long haul, it'll be 4 economy seats, 2 premium economy seats, and 2 business seats. I'll admit, Finland has been something that I had thought about going, and because of this kind of deal and learning a little bit more about it, it's something that I would consider. There was a look at, you could fly from Dallas, Fort Worth to Helsinki, Finland at 62,500 Finnair plus Avios points. And this was one way at $141 of taxes and fees. Now, if you booked through British Airways, you would unfortunately get hit with surcharges, which could raise the taxes and fees up to over $1,000. So it's another reminder where even though you have all of these different airlines using the Avios, that you need to be careful and pay attention to looking at how the numbers will look like with different ones doing it that share them. So definitely keep that in mind. Let's see, I want to make sure. Jaws says he usually stays at Airbnb, but I can't lie, these hotel credit cards are very good. Like the Choice and the Wyndham card, I think there's a Choice card that has 5x for home improvements, and I like it. They're very practical. I've not seen what like the Choice card has, so that's good information. I have not stayed at too many Airbnbs, and I kind of found I think they were better. I don't know how much they are now as far as this point. A lot of the cleanup costs, and Jaws can probably correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the cleanup costs that have kind of made it somewhat, in some cases, a bit oppressive compared to the hotels. But I'm sure there's probably some spots where it does work out well. But yes, any of these different type of things we can pick up for some hotel bonuses always can help out. As far as the for Finnair, you can book partner flights with Finnair plus Avios, but they don't normally work out as well compared to the other Avios providers. So it's available, but it's probably not something that probably not something you want to look at. To this point, Capital One was the only transferable currency that had direct access to transfer to Finnair Plus. So it definitely opens things up. And of course, we now have more options to look at Finnair now with them being a currency. And as I mentioned, make sure that whenever you're moving the Avios around, whether it's related to Finnair in this case with British, or even if you're looking at any other ones, they are not necessarily all the same. So definitely take a look at it. And I see that Sendo said Hilton or the Airbnbs for him. Love Hilton. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about any kind of Finland trip. So now let's move to the LifeMiles in the subscription to start with. So they launched this new subscription service. There's 4 levels of it. All subscriptions have 10% rebate on all of the LifeMile awards, and this includes the Star Alliance and other partners. The 3 highest levels, though, will include free award changes and cancellations. And for anybody that's dealt with Avianca, that could be a big deal because you're looking at a lot of times $150 on the change fee, $50 cancellation redeposit points on coach short haul, but it could get up to $200 on some premium cabin long haul. Now you do have to get the subscription, and you must have it for a minimum of 6 months. So a couple of things, so some things to keep in mind on that. So let's start with the light, which is the entry level. You'll get 500 miles monthly, so it's a total of 6,000 miles. You'll get they'll match. You can max on the credit card to get 100% up to 1,000 LifeMiles. You'll get a 10% rebate on all LifeMile award redemptions, 10 to 25% on Avianca paid flights, up to 40% on LifeMile hotels, and 10% redemption discount on LifeMile cars through the LifeMile portal. The cost for this is $20 a month for a total of a $240 annual fee. So that is where the starting point is. The second item is the basic program, where it's 2,000 monthly miles for a total of 24,000 points. You get the match up to 2,000 LifeMiles on this. It's $50 per month, so $600 annually. Now, this is where you start getting the free award changes and cancellations, as well as the 10% rebate on all LifeMile award redemptions. Then you have the pro level, where it's 4,500 points per month, 54,000 miles annually. You now have 4,500 miles that'll be matched with a $100 payment per month for a total of $1,200 annually. And the same situation, you get the free award cancellations and changes. Lastly, you got the max 10,000 miles a month for 120,000 points, 10,000 miles max to the match, as well as the cost of being $200 a month, $2,400 annually. Probably a couple of things to kind of keep in mind with these subscriptions is the subscription itself does not lend itself immediately to being necessarily a bargain per mile. So for the miles that you're getting, you're paying about 4 cents per mile. You're on the basic, 2.5 cents per mile, pro, 2.2 cents per mile, and for the max, 2 cents a mile. Now, Points Guide values these at 1.7. Now, that is just the straight miles that you're getting, not necessarily the benefits that you're going to get, depending on how much you value for that. And of course, when you're doing all of this, you are getting the silver status through Avianca, as well as, nope, sorry, skip that part. So keep that in mind as far as those options for what that may be able to do for you for the miles. But definitely, I think probably the sweet spot for most people, whether you do, unless you're a heavy user of Avianca points, would be the light or the basic. So probably light as far as being able to get that 10% back can be helpful. And then as far as the basic, if you're starting to do a little bit more, you now don't have to worry about those change fees. So especially if you got a family and you have to worry about that kind of thing, and as opposed to potentially as a single flyer, depending on what's going on, may be something that may be helpful. So just wanted to kind of run through that with you all to have that information. And then, of course, we've got the LifeMiles credit cards that have finally come out, and hopefully everybody did their wait list and got their 5,000 points available and their 10,000 points available, depending upon which credit card you're looking at. Don't want to leave free miles on the table. So they've come out now. A couple of items to mention is that while you'll see these cards have the Amex emblem on them, they're not American Express credit cards. They are just using the American Express network. So it has nothing to do with the 5 credit card max that happens with credit cards with American Express. So it won't impact you in any way for that. So keep that in mind. You initially have the Avianca LifeMiles Amex card. It's $99. This is the one that would give you 5,000 points if you waitlisted and apply for this credit card. You get 40,000 LifeMile points with a $3,000 spend in the first 90 days. As far as multipliers, 2x on Avianca and LifeMile purchases, 2x on groceries and restaurants, and 1x on everything else. Of course, there's no foreign transaction fee. You do get Avianca LifeMiles Silver status, which is equivalent to Star Alliance Silver status, and you'll get a 5% redemption discount for Avianca redemptions booked through lifemiles.com. So obviously there's some pluses and minuses with this. The immediate thing that comes to my mind is 40,000 miles as a intro bonus is not a lot when you're doing a $3,000 spend. And because Avianca is tied in with so many different transfer currencies, that's probably not the reason you'll get that card. But we'll touch on a couple of on the use cases for that in a moment. Then we have the Avianca LifeMiles Amex Elite card, $249 annual fee. You have the availability to get up to 100,000 LifeMiles in 2 pieces, of course. 60,000 miles with a $4,500 spend in the first 90 days, and then 30,000 miles if your total spending over the 365 days is $25,000. Interesting, I'll say that at the least, but we'll leave that for a bit. You'll get a bump up from 2x to 3x on the Avianca and LifeMiles purchases, 2x on groceries and restaurants, as well as 1x on everything else. The miles earned can be doubled up to 1,000 bonus miles. No foreign transaction fee, of course, the silver status, and then you'll get the LifeMiles Lite subscription included at $30 per month for basic. $30. The Lite subscription will be free. It's normally valued at $20. So you can be able to use that $20 credit if you want to move up a level. So that would move you to only $30 if you wanted to have basic, $80 if you wanted pro per month, and then $180 for the max level. So you do have options, but you do get the Lite that comes with it. So something to keep in mind. That one obviously has the 10,000 waitlist points. And John says Avianca is great for Latin America. I'm in a few travel groups and many love flying with them. Well, that's good because I've not had the opportunity to fly with them. I've only used the Avianca LifeMiles to do a couple of United flights, some short haul. And I didn't have to do any of the communications that some people say may or may not be an issue with it. But I thought it was a pretty good deal. Kind of keeps things open, I'll say, for this. So I wanted to provide a little bit of information on the Avianca LifeMiles Silver status. It comes in, Avianca has 4 levels: Red Plus, Silver, Gold, and Diamond. So with the Silver status, you'll get 5 Avianca Lounge entries. Now they have 12 VIP lounges located in Colombia and El Salvador. And so these are for just the Avianca lounges. You'll have 2 Avianca lounge entries for your companions. You'll get 2 space available upgrades on routes to and from the Americas. Does not apply to the basic and light fares that you would have the potential to do through their program. And then you'll have a 30% bonus on miles on paid Avianca tickets in the classic, flex, and business fares. 10% discount on premium seat purchases where it applies to you, where it can apply to you and your companion if you're on the same reservation. And then you'll get some Star Alliance benefits like priority reservation, waitlist and priority standby on eligible Star Alliance flights like United. So a lot of things kind of come with it. So cardless, I did read that cardless, at least at the moment, appears to have a policy of only approving people for one cardless product. So if you apply, be aware. Now, I did see something from the Wing. I forget the exact name of it. I apologize. I think it's View from the Wing. That's what it was. He had mentioned, Greg, I think it's Greg, he had mentioned that he had talked to cardless and that was something that was going to end soon, but has not been done yet. And I was not really familiar with cardless, but from what it looks like, they were really more focused on sports teams. And so they didn't really need to, so they had that policy in place when they were doing that. Right now, I think cardless outside of now Qatar in LifeMiles, you're basically looking at, they've got Latam, and I believe they have one other one, but it escapes me of which one. So, so probably will not be an issue, but just kind of keep an eye out for it if you're looking at getting more than one card from LifeMiles or Qatar quickly, because that policy may still be in place for the moment. As far as the Amex card, the base level credit card, yep, you're exactly right. That is what it is, Matt. I appreciate you raising that. Air Portugal TAP is the other one. Thank you for pointing that out. For the Amex card, if you do fly Avianca regularly, directly Avianca Airlines, that could be a pretty good deal. Priority service, the extra baggage, the lounge access there in Colombia and El Salvador is a pretty nice little bargain for that small annual fee. If you're looking at the Elite card, that I think that may be a case of where you either, if you do or you plan to do a lot of LifeMiles redemptions to be able to get access to the light subscription, to get some additional ones, but you probably will want to pay up maybe a little bit more to get the basics so that you get those free change fees and cancellations, because they definitely can add up. Copa Air. It's possible, Jaws. I did not see that from what I've looked at, but I definitely will have to say that I'm going to claim that I'm not totally sure about Copa Air. I'll have to look that up. I will look that up after this to make sure and try to throw that in there as well. So that's kind of what we have for the credit cards, and want to make sure if there's any questions or comments and such that anyone has for us to touch on. More than happy for us to kind of discuss anything or to look at anything. And give it a minute just in case to make sure. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. Hopefully this has been beneficial. I will make sure to, when I close this down, to get this chaptered up and make sure, yes, you can book Copa flights via Avianca. Okay, thanks, Mr. Coco. So I will make sure to get these chaptered up and get everything together and get this posted up as soon as I can. And thank you all for everybody that came on live. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And everybody have a great day. Thanks so much.